The first thing you want to do is make sure you sign into the Google account that we set up earlier. I think that was in chapter 1 that we went through. So just make sure that you are signed in, and then from there you can just search for Google Ads. You can take a look here. So ads.google.com is the URL. Click through and you'll be taken to essentially the welcome page. So for those of you that already have an account, you just need to sign in. However, I'm going to be going from a start now perspective. So for those of us that are starting for the first time, so you can click the start now, and essentially you'll be taken to this first screen, which is putting you in the place to start what they call a Google Ads Smart campaign. This is one of Google's new features, just to make it a lot easier for people to set up their own accounts. And essentially, Google is going to set up the account for you. So all you got to really do is put in your website URL, and from there, Google will look at what keywords to show for you, put together ad text, and all of those good things, which is amazing. However, I have found that there generally is a lot of wasted spend on these smart campaigns, and also not necessarily the best quality leads. So what we want to ensure is that we have small budget. We want to make sure that we get the best results for that budget, and we don't have people that maybe are looking for jobs contacting us, or people that are looking for free stuff contacting us. So I like to be in a lot more control, and therefore I prefer using what they call the expert mode. However, expert mode is just the old school Google Ads. So as you can see at the bottom here, we got here switch to expert mode. So what we can do is we're going to click on that. And don't be too concerned. It's still going to take you through very much a step-by-step guide, kind of asking you questions as you go. So I'm going to set up a campaign for my Metis Accelerator business. And we utilize a landing page here. So just quickly open it up. And essentially, we want to set up a campaign that is going to look for companies that are looking to either have landing pages made, or they're looking to for an agency to run their Google Ads. So if we go in here, essentially that gives me what goal do I want from my campaign. And I would like more leads. So I'm going to click on that. It then asks me what type of campaign I want to set up. So as you can see, again, it's got the smart option over here. And it would then be going straight back to looking at how to, taking over the process of putting the campaign together. And then it has search and display. Now, for us small businesses, we need to look at the leads that are already warm. And so this is why I'd recommend going with a Google search campaign. What this means is that these are people that are going onto Google and searching for your products and services. So as you can hear, those are the type of customers that already have high intent. They're already saying they need your product or your service. They're now just deciding where to buy it from. So very, very high intent. Display, on the other hand, definitely works, and it's quite a lot like social media. So this would rather target people and show them banners, depending on maybe what sites they're going to or what interests they have. And it's definitely works, but it works, it sits a lot higher up in the sales funnel. And because of that, you generally need a lot more kind of engagement and a lot more budget to be playing in this sort of realm. So what we're going to do is we're going to rather go through a Google search campaign. So I click on the Google search, and then it asks me how are people going to essentially reach the goal? Are they going to do it via my website? Are they just going to phone me directly from the ad? Do they need to go and visit my shop? Are they going to be downloading an app that I have? And then this is a new feature that Google has where people can actually fill out a lead form on Google search without even needing to go to your website. So you need to make a decision here on which way you would like to go about it. What we have found is that people still like to go through to a website just to read a little bit more. So I'm going to rather choose the website visits. And then I just need to put in the URL. So I could just go there and I can copy the URL and just paste it in over here. And now it asks me, because you want leads, we need to be able to track those particular leads. So this is pulls back to the Google Analytics that we looked at earlier and the fact that you need conversion tracking in place. So I actually already have tracking in place, which is great. But what we would need to do is we would need to link up my Google Analytics and my Google Ads before I can go about doing that. Another way to go about it is you can actually get tracking code directly from Google Ads, and then you would have to paste it into your website. What I do recommend is that you ask somebody who knows how to work with code to do this for you. Okay, so we're going to continue. So as you can see, very much a nice sort of step-by-step telling me how to go about doing everything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up my first campaign. Now, this is just what you're going to call the campaign. And again, what we notice is people either just leave it to what it says, but it's really good to give it a really nice naming convention that you're going to understand. So I know that maybe I want to run a campaign. I have a certain objective for that campaign, and maybe I have a particular product that I want to be selling with that campaign. So in this particular case, it says here leads. That's quite nice because it's told me what my goal is, which it is leads. Search, it's told me the type of campaign that I'm running, which is a Google search campaign. But now I would want to take that number one away and rather now give it a name that makes sense for me. So I want to, let's say, advertise as a Google Ads agency. So I'm going to put here Google Ads agency. So that's the service that I'm going to offer. The next thing it's doing, it's asking me where I want my ads to show. Now, we spoke about this earlier about it being, there's been Google search and there's been Google display and smart, etc. And automatically, Google ticks you into both the search and the display. So this is my first big tip, is to avoid wasted spend, rather untick the display network. And I know Google is going to tell you to do this, but remember at the end of the day, they also want your money. So we really want to be playing stuff to what's in your best interest and what's going to give you the best leads. So I would recommend looking at just the search network. And search partners is other websites that also allow Google search results. And for now, you can definitely keep those going. Let's just click the more settings. So there shouldn't be anything here that you need to change unless you only want your campaign to run between a certain time. You can look at this, but this is getting quite complex, and for the most part, you can actually ignore this section. The next part that we see that is exceptionally important and a lot of people get wrong is the location targeting. So you need to ask yourself, what is the locations I'm most likely to get conversions? So you might have a service that you're able to supply the whole of South Africa. But if you know, like, let's say my company, when we looked at the Google Analytics earlier, we saw that even though I can work with anyone in South Africa because I don't have to see them face to face, I definitely get my best conversions in Cape Town. So if I'm going to be putting money behind something, let me rather choose the place that I'm going to get the best conversions, because otherwise I could essentially be offering this to anyone in the world. So I can say all countries and territories, but where is most likely the best interest going to come from? So I don't only want clicks on my ads, which is just going to use budget. I actually want people to be requesting a quote from me. So I'm rather going to say, you know what, I want to show in Cape Town. So now it comes up and I can go and choose, and you'll see you can actually get quite granular with where you show. Something else that you might want to look at is maybe you have a business that only services a certain radius. So maybe let's say you have a school or a daycare center or a dentist, and you only want to do a certain radius. For that, you can actually click the advanced search and you can tell them, I want a radius. So let's say I know I'm in Canal Walk. So Canal Walk Shopping Center, I'm happy with that. oh, it's immediately done it. So let's just quickly edit that. And what is the radius I want? So I want we work in kilometers here, so let's rather change that to kilometers. So I'm okay with working within a 15-kilometer radius. It will show me what that looks like, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm happy with that. Now, the one tip that we can give here is your radius can't be too small, because as soon as it's too small, it's going to make it difficult to actually get enough people or enough interest. The other thing to realize is this is going to look at where the person is at the time. Now, somebody might, let's say, live in Edgemead and you service the Edgemead area. However, when they're searching for your type of service, they might be at work and maybe work is in Claremont, and now suddenly your ads aren't showing to them because it's seen as outside the radius. So just take all of that into account. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to servicing Cape Town. So here's the next part that we see a lot of wasted spend. So it says here, people in or show interest in your targeted location. Now, there's a lot of people that are maybe sitting in the United States that have shown interest in Cape Town because they've been going onto websites that are about traveling to Cape Town. Now, you've got to ask yourself, do I want my ads to be shown to those people? For like the majority of the time, that's not going to be the case. So what we highly recommend is rather choosing this one, people in or regularly in your targeted locations. So that really helps. Also, if there is any particular area that sits maybe in this town that you don't want to show, you can exclude that. So maybe there's, yes, I want to show to the whole of Cape Town, but maybe I want to exclude the Edgemead area. Then I can go and add that as an exclusion. This is a very interesting one and quite a debatable subject. So for languages, we might think, okay, yes, English is the way to go. However, languages actually works on what the browser language the person is using. Now, we living in South Africa, and in South Africa we have a lot of Dutch people, German people, French people that are also living here. So they might not actually be using google.co.za. Maybe they're using google.de. So if we say English over here, even though they're searching in English and their keywords are in English, we're not going to show if we haven't allowed for their language. So I normally like to just take this away and rather show for all languages, just because we're in such a multicultural country, but you can make your decision around that. Audiences is something fairly new to Google, and it is very powerful. However, for this moment, you can ignore this. This is definitely more of a level 2 type of targeting method. All right, so next up, we're going to choose our budget, and what you need to be careful of here, it is what are you willing to spend each day. So if let's say your budget is 3,000 Rand for the whole month, you now need to take that and divide it by the amount of days. So you would think that 3,000 divided by 30, so it's 100 Rand a day. But just ask yourself questions such as, do people really search for my type of service on the weekends? So you might want to remove that. So what we normally do is we like to take the full amount and we rather just divide it by 25 days. And then we adjust as we go through the month if we see overspends or underspends. The next part of the year is bidding. And this is a fairly complex part of Google Ads because they've got all these new, as we spoke about earlier, these smart features where they decide when to show your ad depending on what your goal is. Now, we've already said that our goal is conversions. So what they're saying is, let us bid and try get you as many conversions as possible, which is great. In theory, that sounds amazing. And you can choose, you can also say, I want to get as many clicks as possible, or whatever the case is. What we do find here, though, is when it's a new account, it doesn't really have a lot of data to work from at that point, or it has zero data to work from. So sometimes this is not the best way to go. So we prefer to go to choose we like to choose our own bid strategy, and from that we like to choose manual CPC. So this is where we will tell Google how much we're willing to pay for a click, as opposed to Google deciding for us. Because the last thing I want to do is have, let's say, a 3,000 Rand budget, and then Google decides to bid 60 Rand a click, and my budget, it goes really, really quickly before it's allowed to start understanding itself a lot more. So we recommend that you start with manual CPC, and you can always change over to one of the smart bidding options later on. Okay, so the more settings, this is a little bit more level 2, but we'll just quickly run through it. So if you have multiple types of conversions on your site, this is where you choose the conversion that's the most important to you. Ad scheduling could be very important. So I know that we're a company that's open from Monday to Friday, and I only want to be, let's say, contacted between 7 and 5 o'clock. Now, while this might seem like the right way to go about things, I've got to consider who my customer is and when would they be online looking for me. Now, for us, most of our customers are small business owners. And we know that small business owners are actually really busy from Monday to Friday between 7 and 5, just running their own business and getting and dealing with their clients. So a lot of the times for us, a lot of our clients actually contact us or send us emails over the weekend. So I would prefer not to have an ad scheduled here, and I can always add one at a later date if I feel that's important. Ad rotation, you can just leave it to what Google is going to do here, and they're going to essentially show your ads and rotate them, and then we'll start to understand which ads people like the best, and then we'll show those ones a lot more. The ad extensions are very important, but we're going to go into that at a later date. So we can actually save and continue, and we'll be going into the next section, which is to set up your ad group. You can catch that in the next video.